Mahalo to all of you and to Hope and the Oho Ohana here in Kauai for putting on this amazing experience. My name is Lucienne de Naie. I live in the island of Maui. I live in East Maui, kind of on a little place called Hawelo, a traditional village. And I got interested in Kingdom Road because our whole community road system in Hawelo is Kingdom roads. We don't have any county roads, and we take care of our roads ourselves, so we got to know them pretty well, and that started me doing research, and I researched water, historical background, and roads. Those are my three interests, and I'm involved with our local historical society. I serve on the Ahumoku Council for my moku, Hamakualoa, and I'm also vice chair of the Sierra Club for the Hawaii chapter. So I'm a little late because of computer malfunctions, but my topic is mapping our kingdom roads, and kind of like a practical view, maybe some success stories, some horror stories, and the tools that are available. First of all, what are the public trails? We all know it's what is defined by the Highways Act, but of course a lot of that gets forgotten. And these are important questions. Why are so few trails mapped and recognized? And we find out that the state really doesn't have a complete inventory. There's no meets and bounds descriptions of the ones they know about. The documents that would help define them for the mahele often don't have any descriptions because they were considered public lands, so they weren't included. And also the big one, and I agree with Richard here, trails and roads are viewed as disputed property. They're seen in the lens of having costs and liabilities rather than as a sacred and legacy resource. So we really need to switch that. In my opinion, we need trails to be seen as they truly are. I mean, you know, we just heard a view of trails from the heart. I mean, Dennis's experience is this is his kuleana from his family. And for many Kanaka-Maoli, it is their kuleana. For many who aren't even born here as Hawaiians, it's become our kuleana. We just love seeing these places and seeing where they take us. And they provide information to people who aren't even Hawaiian. You know, it's like if you just hang out and listen, you'd be surprised. Some of the people I hike with are Filipino, and they get a lot from the trail. So researching ancient trails, there's lots of ways to find out about ancient trails. Obviously old maps. Some LCA parcel drawings do have trails in them, old photographs. And one of the best, kupuna accounts and drawings. If you can get folks to draw you a little sketch, walk with you, get videoed, these are very invaluable. I've been blessed to have, you know, some members of our kupuna community just walk with me and show me, you know, the trail went here, it went by this rock, it went down to the ocean here, or it went up Mauka here. These are like gold. And of course, exploring the trail sites. As far as old maps are concerned, there are so many sources of old maps. Some are online from the state archives, but the Bureau of Conveyances, they have some different maps. General Accounting Office, they have some maps. Some of them are in the Bureau, and some of them are in the archives, but some of them are not. You know, it's kind of a hodgepodge. You can also go to the state parks, archives, Bishop Museum, UH Manoa, their library, and the local historical societies, and many local families end up with maps from their family properties and deeds. And of course, one of the best resources is the Archaeological Inventory Survey or an Environmental Impact Statement. They're supposed to have maps of the area that they are considering. And occasionally you get some people that do some digging and come up with really good stuff. But maps, they show our trails, but they show so much more. I apologize, you're not going to see this very much. Take my word for it. This is an old map of the Kohala area. It shows an old Alaloa alignment. It shows the government road, 1880s vintage. And it shows a bunch of other stuff. It has all kinds of fish ponds and place names and where certain special pohaku are, and so forth and so on. I mean, this map is a treasure trove, and it's all in one map. This is one from Maui, Kahului Harbor. And so it doesn't just show, you know, where the harbor is. The harbor is the area that is all those little coral reef marks. It shows where the sand dunes are. It shows where the fish pond is, the Kanaha fish pond. It shows the old road to Makawao, the old road to Wailuku, the old road to Waihe'e. Just a lot of information in a small map. Here's one right here from Kauai. And it's the area that we hiked yesterday. That blue dotted line is where we hiked. This is interesting because we were looking at maps yesterday from 1830s and 1880s. This one's from 1892, and it shows the main government road is the red line, so, you know, Mauka, and it shows roads going down to like the old quarry site there by Kilauea. So it's kind of more a commercial emphasis map, where some of the earlier ones we showed probably were more geared to where people were going down to go fishing and use the coastal trails. So maps change. Here's a quick case study. We have a preserved trail on Maui called the Lahaina Pali Trail. It was Kealaloa, pardon my misspelling here. It's preserved. So it was part of the trail that Kihapi'ilani built around the whole island of Maui. And it goes across the Pali. You see where that little chin-like looking thing is. The red line is the trail. There's a typical section of the trail. But at the end of the trail where it comes down to the valley, the flat isthmus of Maui, it came through a piece of private property. And the private property owner was proposing a development. Sierra Club and others submitted comments, and they said, wait a second, we're reading old maps, and it looks like this Lahaina Trail went right through your property. Where is it? And so all of a sudden they had to find a place to put it. And so they kind of moved it a little bit, but they created a well-marked access to it and a parking lot. Another case study, East Maui Trails. This is near where I live in Ho'elo. This is a map of the old sugar plantation in Ho'elo. And you can see those dotted blue lines were all road system. These are all roads that were on the map before the Highways Act. And they're called Old Government Road, or Government Road is what they're marked. But basically, the ones that kind of went along the coast from left to right were Kealaloa. They were, you know, the main King's Highway around the island. Then the other roads led to various kuleana claims that were throughout the different valleys and streams and things. And the one on the right that isn't dotted is the road I live off of now. So interestingly enough, as you progress, so that was 1886, here's 20 years later, the roads have changed. Now this red line is the continuation of the blues lines you saw on that other map, and the blue line here is now the new government road. So now you have one map saying old government road, and the other one saying new government road. And actually, as of the 50s, that blue line has changed too. So you have many iterations of roads, and when you look at the maps, you have to sort of piece together something that's a common ground, but you start seeing like, wow, this thing has changed over time, so what remains the same? And here's the road I live off of now. I live in one of those little lots off the corner, and basically it's kind of similar to this road you see there, that blue road. It's changed a little tiny bit, but mostly it's the same road it was in the 1880s. But there are problems. Now, here's the old government road in our neighborhood, and someone just took it upon themselves to say, no trespassing. This is the old government road, that green grassy area. I'd hiked it for years, and these people bought a house and decided that they were going to put a chain up and no trespassing and, you know, don't come here and all like that. So people couldn't ride their horses here anymore. The trail started closing in. And so we're kind of, until we come and get it back, we're losing that section of the old government road. However, on the solution side, our community, at their own expense, takes care of most of that system of old Kingdom trails. And so they're usable. That we use them to get to our houses. People use them to, you know, go and visit their friends. And, you know, we have a lot of bed and breakfast, so tourists use them too. but we have a little community road association. We have road work days, and the adjoining valleys do the same thing. We're in Waipio Valley, Honopo Valley does the same thing, Hanavana Valley does the same thing. So you talk about solutions. This is one solution. It's like you don't have to let things just be completely unused. The community can take care of them, and then the community can set speed limits and decide what's proper and improper along the roads. Here's another case study. These are the ancient villages of Makena, Maui. This is an area in South Maui, and all those little dots are archaeological sites. And the road goes right along the coast, the old King's Highway, Kealaloa. And there was also an Aupuni road that went all the way down. I'm sorry, I don't have a pointer here. Normally my little pointer thing points, but oh, here it is. Okay, this is actually the Aupuni road that went Mauka Makai. It was built during the days of King Kamehameha III, and there are still traces of it, up above. I sneaked in with some Hawaiian friends. We did cultural access, and we found sections of it up above the golf course for the Makena Resort. So if we hadn't looked at maps, we wouldn't know there was an Aupuni road because it's not on any modern maps. And yet it was an important public works investment in the 1840s. So things like this, we don't want them to disappear. This is a map that Teresa Donham did. She's now branch chief head of the State Archaeological Department. And she and I collaborated on a book in 2006 and 2007 from an OHA grant on the history of the Makena area called the Ka'eo Project. This is an amazing story. Kealaloa went right in front of where a large resort, Makena Prince, was proposed. And citizens started suing in 1977. I think Sierra Club sued in 1978. Special management area laws had just gone into effect, and we just didn't want them to get rid of that road. And we had all the kupuna come out and tell their stories. We had a great attorney, Isaac and Dana Hall, legal team, and we fought for almost 10 years, and finally there was a settlement. And the settlement kept this road open, but it's a walking path. But it's a very nice walking path. It has curbstones on both sides, and it looks like a traditional Hawaiian trail. And it's actually turned out to be an asset to the hotel, even though they wanted to close it and make it go away. Now, where did they get that idea? Well, they got that idea, this is the 1920s map that shows you that very much Kealaloa went all the way through. This is where the Prince Hotel is, and that road went all the way through, went all the way out to Keoneoio, the end of the road that's in South Maui. But the idea of closing it, they got from the Wailea Resort. Here's the Grand Wailea Resort location. This is now a big beach, and where this is, there's a hotel, gigantic hotel. So this section of Kealaloa, which had been on all the old maps too, just disappeared, and instead this blue line became the new road, and then it kind of joined down to the old road near an area called Palawea. So that was a great loss because there were many important cultural sites along this road. 300 burials surround this road. Talk about really changing a cultural landscape. This was a big shift in a cultural landscape. Portions of the Kealaloa in Makena still, they don't even know who owns. This is the old Makena Road near Makena Landing. The ownership is, the state doesn't own it, the county doesn't own it, and some private property owner thinks they own it, but they're not sure. There's a lot of coastal fishing trails along the Makena Resort property too. This is Pu'olai here in the distance, a very important landmark in South Maui. And this is a Sierra Club group. We try to keep these fishing trails open by leading hikes there every year. Moving next to Makena, Palawea is a very, very rich area. These are great sources, these aerial maps. This is one's from 1965, but they go back to pre-war years. But you can see this is all overgrown area, had little tiny little road, and this was the Kealaloa, and it went all the way out to the lava flows. But in '85, that section that I showed you before, it got taken out, and part of that section, this is the Grand Wailea Hotel Beach, And this is the, some other hotel, I forget, Renaissance. And then this is a development, a condo development called the McKenna Surf. And the road went right through here. And it had burials and heiaus, all kinds of important sites. So the road has disappeared. They saved one heiau and one canoe, haliva'a. And everything else has just been replaced by condos. So it's just like all the history was wiped out with the road. Here's the section that was wiped out. That was replaced by those condos you saw. So when it got to Palawea, the next kind of land section down in the next Ahupua'a, people really got up in arms. And it took a couple of years, but once again, Dana and Isaac Hall, the Chang family, Leslie Kulaloyo, and many non-Hawaiians all rallied and just said, no, you leave this road here. And it was a tough one because they promised if they could take the road, the developers, that they would actually donate the entire beach to the county as a beach park. So that's kind of a hard thing to turn down, but people said, no, it's not right to make this road disappear. And they brought up all the same arguments that we heard from Debbie. Oh, it's already partially destroyed. It doesn't have integrity anymore. Oh, we don't really know where it went. They probably moved it during the war, And people just they stood firm, and because of that, this area is now a cultural preserve, 22-acre cultural preserve, and this road relates to it. And I think the kupuna are watching over us. Right here is Palawea Landing, which is the earliest dated artifacts in the whole South Maui area, dating between 600 and 800 AD. So this area has been utilized by Hawaiians for many, many, many centuries. Very important. There's a whole ceremonial complex in this lot, and then Mauka of this, there's thousands of cultural sites. So the Kealaloa did remain through Palawea. This is the Palawea beach, and it remains continuously all the way through McKenna, and it is just a walking trail through the hotel, but at least one whole section all the way to where it ends is there, and then all these cultural sites relate to it. There's cultural site complexes on both sides of the road, all the way along the road. And even if you save some of the sites, if you don't have the trail that people use to connect them, if you don't have the trail where the canoe landings came into each of these beaches, you just lose the integrity of things. So these maps are important, is like, keeping with the maps. Some of the maps we found showed the old fishing coastal trail too in Palawea, and here's a small group trying to keep that trail open. We also have these really unique trails in Palawea. I don't know how well this shows up. They're stepping stone trails. And up in Palawea, Mauka, there's at least, 5 or 6 different long sections of these. And they're probably resource-based. They probably lead to specific gathering areas. We don't really know, but we have hardly any left on Maui except these. So this is a very important discovery. And they were discovered by a citizens group that I'm part of. The archaeologists found a couple small segments and said, we found everything. And citizens went up using pash rights and on private property, but it wasn't developed. And we checked in with Native Hawaiian Legal Corp and got the rights. And they went up pretty regularly, once or twice a month for 5 years, and found all these trails and hundreds of other archaeological sites, and convinced the state historic guys to call for a new survey, which then found thousands of sites. This is one of the trail markers in the upper Palawea area. It is not being given any credence by archaeologists, so we're going to get Richard to go to bat for it. And we still have historic roads in Palawea. This is a map from the 1940s. The military had some interesting maps. This is a military map from the state archives. And you'll see this is a historic road, the Kanaio-Kalama Road. What the kupuna tell us is that when they were kids in the 1920s, they would go along the McKenna Road, and it got real bad after this point. And so they would go up Mauka to the Ulapalakua Road. There was a junction, and then they would ride their horses along this road to Kihei. So this is in the 1930s. The developers that this road goes through their land, a project called Honua Ula, they claim, no, the military built this road and it was never there. But because we got the Kupuna stories, showed them the maps, had them make sketches, they caved, and so now they're proposing to preserve a part of it. This is what, it's a, it's a regular little dirt road. This is a historic road. If you look at this map, you'll see this road doesn't just go through Palawea, it goes all the way to the end of Kihei. And it's the last really historic road we have left. It's still intact through the entire, it's above the main Pi'ilani Highway in the whole South Maui area. So Sierra Club's been fighting for this as part of a settlement agreement with the owners of this large development, Honua'ula Partners. This was the, I know Debbie will get a kick out of this, this was the proposed alternative trail arrangement to replace what was a trail that, had been engineered to go with the terrain. And there's just scores and scores of cultural sites on both sides of this trail. So we know that before the military improved it, it probably had traditional use because our kupuna were telling us that. So to end, traditional cultural practice is a very essential part of trail preservation. Here's a group up in Honua'ula entering and offering some ho'okupu and looking at some special sites. And here's a little good news. We'll end on this case story. This is a trail that goes from Baliko Gulch to Pauwela Point. Pauwela Point is in the distance here. There's a lighthouse here. This is in the Haiku area. And this trail was proposed as open space. This whole area was proposed as open space in our updated Maui Island plan, this big green ribbon. Lots of people came and testified and said it should be open space. It was open space in the community plan, and it's conservation zoned. And because we didn't have state or county agencies cave and offer to readjust the conservation boundary or, make some other adjustment, the developer donated 36 acres of open space and dedicated it with a conservation easement, and we now have a coastal trail. It's almost like 2 miles long. So, informed citizens, good trail mapping and research combined with agency diligence, and I agree with Deborah, we have great relationships with State Historic. We just dog these guys. We provide them with information. We volunteer to file for them if they're behind in their paperwork. We do whatever it takes to help support them to do a good job. We do the same thing with Fish and Wildlife. And you work with these people, and they're very, very grateful, and they want to do the right thing. So, they're not your enemies. You just got to form the relationships. And if we can put these things together, we will have a legacy of trails for public use. And we're going forward. This is, once again, that Honua'ula area. It's also a native dryland forest. Here's one of the trails along the Willy Willy trees. So thank you very much. Imua. Any questions? Yes. Yeah, you want the microphone? Okay. Yeah. No, everything I've heard is exactly that, Chu. These are stepping stone trails. They don't have any curbstones. They are slabs of pohehoi that are set in lava fields. Yeah. That is what yeah, and filling in the gulches. Yeah, the trails are very different from the commercial era, from the Ho'opili Trail on Maui. That was the first shot that I showed, was with the 2 curbs and everything. It looked like some of the trails on the Big Island. But those are from the 1830s, 1840s, 1820s, and they were built by prison labor in Maui. Yeah. They had plenty of prisoners. Yeah. But that's exactly, yeah. Adulterers, built on the backs of the adulterers. But the stepping stone trails, which on Maui, you folks have them fairly commonly, I think, on the Big Island, but on Maui, we hardly see any. So when we found so many at this one location, and of course it was slated to be a golf course, but no more. They'd gotten rid of that idea. We were very, very excited to find all these stepping stone trails. Well, thank you all.